Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to this presentation on imagery and marketing for FIRST teams, presented to you by FTC Team 18312, De Geese to Freedom. Before we start, I just want to thank Sarah Parker, who provided permission for me to use and modify some of her slides. Sarah is an alumna from FRC Team 1902, Exploding Bacon. In this presentation, we're going to talk about how one FRC team that didn't have a consistent identity made a lot of small changes that dramatically improved their image, leading to multiple awards. Sarah was a big part of their success. I also want to thank all the photographers whose photos are included in this presentation. So first things first, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Dan Frank, and I have experience in mentoring teams in a number of robotics competitions, including FTC and FRC. I've helped start a number of teams, including my latest one, De Geese to Freedom. The first team that I worked with as a mentor was an FRC team in Gainesville, Florida, Roaring Riptide, the team that will be the primary focus of this presentation. I worked with Roaring Riptide for 7 years. While my background is in mechanical engineering and not marketing, I have learned a lot from people like Sarah on how to develop a great team image in FIRST Robotics. While this presentation was originally created for FRC teams, I believe that most of what is discussed also applies to FIRST teams in general. So let's start by defining what we mean by an image. Your team's image is the impression that it has on people inside and outside your organization. It's a combination of colors, uniforms, cheers, and logos, etc., that conform to a predetermined and standardized set of requirements. You can think of it as being similar to a brand or a theme. Your team's image is extremely important. It helps make your team recognizable and memorable. It's used to establish a community presence and make an impact. It differentiates your team from others. It provides a more inspiring experience for team members. It may help obtain and keep sponsorships. It allows you to get more invitations to opportunities, considerations for awards, and may even help in aligned selection. Marketing is sharing your team with others, and this could be at competitions, in the community, or even to potential sponsors. So when you hear the words image and marketing, you might be wondering, what's the relationship between the two? Essentially, marketing is sharing your image with others. There's many different components that contribute to your team's image. In this presentation, we're going to talk about team name, logo, colors, build space, pit, uniforms, cheers, robot design, mascot, giveaways, and even the stand presence of your team. Whether you're a brand new team searching for its identity or a veteran team that is looking to refine or update its image, this is a presentation for you. Now, some of you might be thinking, our team struggles to just build the robot each year. Having a great team image is a luxury that only teams with a lot of resources can afford. I once thought the same thing, but I'm hoping that this presentation can debunk that myth. For most of the time while I was a mentor on Roaring Riptide, the team's image was not a priority. However, after many years, we eventually decided that enough was enough. So we took an inventory of the different components that comprise our team's image, and we decided what worked and what needed to be improved. What we found was that there were a lot of small changes that we could make to create a more consistent image. While each of these changes were small, when you added them all up, they allowed our team to make a pretty remarkable transformation. This presentation documents Roaring Riptide's journey to imagery greatness. The first place that you want to start when you're taking inventory of your team's image is your team's name, since in many ways it will define your team's identity. You want it to be unique. There's a lot of FIRST teams out there, so you want to make sure that your team isn't easily confused with another team's. You want to be very careful about choosing the same name as an existing team. For example, I wouldn't recommend naming your team Eagle Robotics. While there's nothing wrong with that name, in fact, I'm sure there's a lot of great teams named Eagle Robotics. That's also kind of my point. Sometimes you may not have a lot of control over what your team name is. For example, maybe your school requires that you have a certain name. If you do have the same name as another team, don't worry. There are many other ways to differentiate yourself. So when I was on Roaring Riptide, that was the first place we started when we were taking inventory of our team's image. We first looked on the blue lines and tried to find if there's any other teams called Roaring Riptide, And as you might expect, no, there wasn't. So our team's name was unique. That's a good sign. Now, the question is, was our team name appropriate? Well, based out of Gainesville, Florida, you're probably about as far away from the beach as any point in the state. So I would say not as appropriate as it possibly could have been. Something related to, a swamp probably would have been more appropriate. However, since the school's mascot was the blue wave, it did help connect our robotics team to the rest of the school. So we decided that it was a good fit. Next, we took a look at our team logo. You want your logo to be simple, easily identifiable, unique, and consistent. Our first logo was unique, featured our team number, but it wasn't really consistent with the team theme. If you look at it, there's really not many references to water. This was another potential candidate for our team's logo. Personally, I thought it was pretty terrifying. So we opted to go with this one instead. This newer logo better captured Riptide's water safety image. No other sports team or FIRST team that we know of has anything quite like it. Its simple design makes it easy to print on shirts, even with limited colors. One question that you might be wondering is it appropriate to update your logo every year to fit with the theme? The answer is maybe. So you can see two examples or variations of our team logo that we've had over the years. So in 2018 for First Power Up, we had this pixelated logo. And then in 2019, they had a more space-themed logo. As long as it's still identifiable and doesn't stray too far from the original design, it can be a fun way to mix things up. The other nice thing about modifying the logo is it can also help prevent you from having a dozen shirts that are identical. All right, team colors. You want to make sure that you don't pick the same color scheme as another team, especially local teams. If you're not sure what colors to pick, school-based teams can just use school colors. That gives your team a stronger connection to the school. Be consistent. Make sure you quantify your colors. Coca-Cola cans aren't just red, they're Coca-Cola red. And so one way you can quantify your colors is by using color spaces. When you're using media displayed on screens, you can use RGB, red, green, blue, hue, saturation, value, HSV, and then hex are all different color spaces you can use to quantify for media displayed on screens. For printed materials, you can use the Pantone matching system, and you can also use cyan, magenta, yellow, and key numbers to help you stay consistent with your color scheme. Build space. So the build space is typically the first impression a guest may have when visiting your team. Due to a number of factors, our team's build space had fallen under some bad times. Before we could grow as a team, we had to do some cleaning up at home first. So during the summer, we spent several days just cleaning and organizing our build space. This is what it looked like before we started that process. So here's what it looked like after all of our hard work. While it wasn't easy, we turned our build space from a place that we were embarrassed to bring people to one that we were proud of showing others. One thing that we should point out, once you have it organized, it's really important to stay vigilant to keep it that way. If your build space is your team's home, your pit is your team's home away from home. A pit should be functional as well as aesthetically pleasing. As a team, we never really spent much time or energy in designing our pit. We focused everything on the robot. In 2017, we hit rock bottom. Our pit was neither pretty nor functional, and it affected the performance of our team and the robot. We couldn't find tools, it wasn't very safe to work in, and it just looked terrible. It was everything a good pit should aspire not to be. So after the experience of having one of the worst FRC pits, we decided to give ourselves an HGTV makeover. We met during the summer and listed all the issues we had with our previous pit. We brainstormed for solutions and looked to other teams' pits for inspiration. We started off by developing a crude design concept in PowerPoint. From there, we shifted from a 2D image to a 3D CAD model to better see how everything would fit together. We then made a brilliant decision that helped us with improving our pit. We built it at home in our build space. We worked in it during the build season to determine any issues that it might have. This gave students practice in working under the constraints of a pit. Every time we needed a tool to work on the robot, we just put it in the pit. Packing for competitions became easy. We just packed everything that was in that 10-foot by 10-foot area. Setting up our competitions was also easy since everyone knew where everything went. It also made our build space more inviting. Even if you don't have permanent space for this, you can still benefit by practicing to build your pit at least once before the competition season. So, just a reminder, this was the initial design for our pit, and this is what it looked like at the competition. It wasn't perfect. As you can see, it's pretty dark, so the lighting was poor, but it was so much better than what we had before. When we designed the pit, we focused first on function, and then for each decision we asked, is there a way we can incorporate our team's water safety theme? For example, we wanted shelving to display our team handouts, trophies, and a computer to show videos of the team. So we asked ourselves, what is something a lifeguard would use that could function as a shelf? How about a lifeguard chair? So then we built, a very simple lifeguard chair out of some plywood and some PVC pipe. Since now we had a lifeguard chair, we needed a lifeguard. So we decided, why not make the lifeguard one of the toy dogs that our team adapted as part of our outreach? When people would ask why a dog was sitting in the chair, it gave our students a great opportunity to talk about the impact our team has had in the community. Uniforms. Uniforms are an important part of your image. Everyone who wears one is a reflection of your team. In the past, Riptide was not very strict about the uniform. We had team shirts, but everyone was allowed to wear any other accessories that they wanted, which led to some interesting fashion choices. Take a look at these two photos. Is it obvious that these two students are on the same team? If you go too far with accessories, it can really detract from the consistency of your team's image. Take a look at these two photos. It features the exact same students, but in which photo do you think they look more like a team? If possible, incorporating pants into your uniform can really help your team look professional and also help it to stand out. To go with the lifeguard theme, we added red pants to our team's uniform. They were an oversized pair of scrubs that were worn over another pair of pants. That way you could wear the same pair the entire competition. We were not the only team to wear a light blue shirt, so the red pants really helped our team stand out in the crowd. But what happens when people get cold? As soon as you put a jacket on, all of your hard work to create a consistent team image is ruined. One option is to come up with uniform variations to account for different scenarios. For example, if it is cold, you can have official team hoodies or jackets. Not every team can afford that, however. So instead, students who are cold can wear a long sleeve shirt of a specific color underneath the team shirt. You can establish similar guidelines for what team members should wear in warm weather as well. Team cheers are the most important aspect of your image that no one will ever see. Here is one that we used in the past. Who are we? Riptide. What do we do? Roar. It's okay, but it's pretty generic. So we looked into making a new one. Specifically, we wanted a cheer to help get everyone to attention at team meetings. So for example, one person would call out splish splish, and then the rest of the team would call out splash, and that would get everyone to attention. We also tried dihydrogen monoxide, but the one that we really ended up liking was this one. Someone would shout, lifeguards, and then everyone replied, on deck. We eventually adopted this one because we thought it was a better fit with our lifeguard theme. It's very important that you practice the cheers at home if you want them to sound great at competitions. So as a result, we incorporated this one into every team meeting, which helped us to ensure that every delivery of this cheer sounded great. The design of your robot should be memorable and unique. To make our robot more memorable, one year we made our climbing mechanism look like a pair of elephants. While it was definitely memorable, it was not consistent with the team's water safety theme. You should think of your robot as another member of your team. It should be easily identifiable with your team. In 2015, we made our robot look like a sailboat, which we named Sailbot. It fit our theme better than the elephants, but we went a bit overboard with modifying our logo. It looks like we are trying to recycle swimmers or something. Plus the colors are different, so it's not easily identifiable as Roaring Riptide's robot. On the plus side, 2015 was a year that a lot of teams were building triangle-shaped robots, so the sails did help our robot stand out. For fun, see how long it takes you to spot Sailbot in the sea of robots. The next season, we designed custom wheel hubs that looked like life preservers. They stand out and they match our theme. But we then kind of ruined it by attaching a BB-8 head on our ball launching mechanism. Was it hilarious? Yes. Was it memorable? Yes. Did it really have anything to do with our team's image? No, not really. Another mistake that we made that year is that we put these beautiful plates over our electronics that featured our team name and number. There's only one problem. They went on the underside of the robot, so no one ever saw them. In 2017, it took 6 years, but we finally put our team's logo on the robot. And no, I'm not counting the 2015 recycling logo. It's not exactly groundbreaking, but it is effective. We also put our team number on the front and limited the color of our 3D printed parts to blue and white. Once your robot is built, it's important to get a nice photo of it. One trick that we've learned over the years is that if you put it on a carpet and then hold the part of the carpet up, you can actually use it as a backdrop. The following year, we took the whole think about your robot as another team member to a whole nother level. Our robot D'Angela almost looks like she's wearing the team uniform. That includes everything from the hat to the logo where the t-shirt would be. And when she's wearing the red bumpers, it almost looks like she's wearing the red pants. To make our bumpers look nice, we had the numbers embroidered on a separate piece of fabric and then stapled them to the rest of the bumper. That way we could reuse it every year. However, just make sure that you use the same color fabric or it may turn out like this one. Every team will have their own unique challenges when trying to implement their team image. For Roaring Riptide, it was how to personify a riptide. So this was our first attempt. It was supposed to be a wave, but it kind of looks like a blue tongue. It wasn't recognizable, so no one would be able to associate it with our team. Not that we necessarily wanted them to. And the other problem with it is that it actually started to fall apart after just one competition. So the next year we decided to not have a mascot. If your team is limited on resources, this is one area of your image that you can make a low priority. Not every team has to have a mascot. I would argue that it's better to have no mascot than one that does not represent your team well. The following year, one of the parents felt bad that we didn't have a mascot, so they made us this one, which kind of looks like a crude Iron Man suit. While it was a really nice gesture, it was really uncomfortable and didn't really match our team's theme. The next year, we upgraded to a shark costume. While it was a great costume and looked professional, it only tangentially fit our theme. Without seeing the team numbers on the front, you wouldn't be able to associate this mascot with Roaring Riptide, especially since there's already a well-known shark-themed team in Florida. After a few years, we decided to ditch the shark costume and go all in with the lifeguard theme. The lifeguard mascot we came up with meets all of the criteria for a great mascot. The uniform was comfortable, the mascot was unique, it's consistent with the water safety theme, and it's easy to associate with Roaring Riptide. Giveaways are a fun way to share your team's image with others. You want to make sure that they are unique, fit your theme, and are desirable. Our rookie year, we had one simple button design. It was pretty crude and didn't match our logo, although it still kind of fit our theme. In the following years, we started to only make meme buttons. The Doge button in particular was much popular very well. Typically, we put a bucket out in front of our pit and people would take one when they came to visit us. We underestimated the power and popularity of memes and typically would run out of buttons within a few hours of the first day. Eventually, as a team, we banned meme buttons. They didn't help our team's image and we were tired of running out of them so quickly. After we banned the meme buttons, we had a student design these really awesome new buttons. We liked them all so much we couldn't pick a favorite, so we made them all. Because we had 3 to 5 different designs, people at competitions felt entitled to take one of each design, meaning we ran out of buttons 3 to 5 times faster. Additionally, while a penguin wearing a hard hat is objectively awesome, it didn't really fit with our team's theme. Tired of running out of buttons, we decided to get rid of the bucket and keep our team's buttons in these packs worn by our students. Not only did it help us better ration the buttons, it also gave our students an opportunity to speak with students from other teams. They also fit well with the lifeguard theme. In addition, we'd redesigned our buttons so that they featured our team's logo, keeping our image consistent. And because they were smaller than most, they were still desirable because of how unique they were. Probably the best buttons Riptide ever produced in terms of promoting imagery, ironically, were ones we made for another team. We helped an FLL team from Arizona, Electro Mutton Nation, convert their logo into buttons, mutton buttons. And with a name like that, who wouldn't want one? Every team should display excitement and enthusiasm throughout the entire competition. This was an area we struggled with. During our team's matches, we often looked like this. However, during every other match, we looked more like this. Competitions are long days, and it's hard to maintain the level of energy seen in the previous photo. Here's one solution we found. One year, we worked with a rookie team throughout the season. This team was so small that during their matches, they were all either in the pits or on the drive team, leaving hardly anyone in the stands to cheer for them. So we stepped in. We recognized that if we flipped one of our number signs around, put a 6 on it, we could recreate their team number. Their first match was a special moment. Their drive team knew that there would hardly be anyone in the stands to cheer for them. So they were so shocked and excited to hear our team cheering for them. Cheering for other teams helps with delivering a more consistent stand presence. It helps to build strong and positive relationships with other teams. It encourages other teams and improves their overall experience at the competition. And it helps your own students have fun. If you are going to use props in the stand, it's important that they are also consistent with your theme. For example, we had leftover waves from our pit design, so we used them in the stands, helping to make our image more consistent. Prior to 2018, Roaring Riptide didn't prioritize the team's image, and it showed. However, by making small changes in all the different aspects of our team's image, we were able to create an awesome team image that we were proud of. Through this journey of improving our team's image, we changed the way in which we thought about it. We began trying to find fun ways to promote our image in every decision we made as a team, even ones that seemed trivial. For example, we decided that we wanted to serve cupcakes at our team's banquet. How would a water safety themed team serve cupcakes? With Teddy Grahams wrapped with a gummy lifesaver to make it look like they're floating in an ocean of frosting, of course. So what are the big takeaways from this presentation? First off, a lot of little changes can make a huge difference. Don't think that just because you don't have the resources to make a lot of big changes, that there's no way you can improve your team's image. Start out small. You also don't have to do everything at once. What are the low-hanging fruit? Focus on the areas that are the easiest to change first. Next, be consistent, be consistent, be consistent. Whenever you're making a decision as a team, always ask, does this hurt or help our team's image? If it doesn't help it, is there a way to modify that decision so that it does help? Lastly, have fun. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to leave comments and good luck on improving your team's image.